Okay, so there's no doubt in my mind that One Punch Man is one of the hottest manga out right now. I mean, every freaking week people hit me up like, yo, Fornev, you read that One Punch Man? Yo, Fornev, you caught up on that One Punch Man? And I was like, I don't know. I'm still wanting to stay with the anime, despite the fact that season 2 was definitely somewhat of a misfire. Ultimately, I was still trying to be like, yo, let me just be a faithful anime watcher. I love the anime. But I finally succumbed to the pressure. I finally said, I'm going to take the plunge, and I caught up to date with the latest chapter of One Punch Man. I don't know exactly because on the officials, the numbers are different than what I'm seeing out there. But yeah, I think it's like 168, I want to say, something like that. I'm up to date as of the recording of this video on the latest stuff with Saitama versus Garo. And I gotta say, before we even jump into anything, because this is the first time in a long time that I marathon binged a manga of this proportion, because I want to say maybe like chapter 80 where season 2 of the anime left off. So I had pretty much like a 80 chapter run for the most part, or 90 chapters pretty much of manga. And wow, definitely was it an experience to say the least, because One Punch Man, one of the things about it too is that I had read the webcomic all the way many years ago that pretty much covered all of this stuff. So when I was going into it too, I was expecting to see not necessarily a play-by-play, but pretty much for the most part verbatim of what happened in the one comic all those years ago when I read it. But they took a lot of liberties with it, and there's a lot of different things that I love and I don't necessarily like from my catch-up. So yeah, let's jump into all of the greatness and insanity that is the One Punch Man manga. Let's go.
No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done. No matter how you feel, get it done.
Let's start off with one of the biggest elephants in the room that if I don't talk about it, then this is a waste of a video. And that's the fact that I love and I appreciate, and I'm almost just in shock at the quality of the art of One Punch Man. Like, there's a difference between, yo, having a couple of really dope pages each chapter and what Murata does. Pretty much every freaking chapter has consistency of just wowing pages of art. And I'm not just talking about, oh, that looks kind of cool, or hey, that's a nice double spread. Like, I mean, there will be pages upon pages of art that looks like damn near masterpiece quality. Like, I haven't seen a manga with such consistent quality of art since like probably reading Vagabond years ago. Like, Vagabond was a manga that every single page was just like, holy shit, you need to put this in a museum. And that's how I felt to a certain degree about One Punch Man, where it was just, I mean, you could tell that Yusuke Murata loves what he's doing. You could just tell that he is having a blast with drawing this manga, because nobody would put in the amount of work that he puts in unnecessarily too, to be honest with you. Like, he could easily skate by with, here's 20 pages, hey, I did my best, because a lot of mangaka get away with that of, hey, it's a dope looking chapter. Oftentimes, I'm not even gonna lie, I would be questioning like, how is this man even like human? How are you being able to create at such a scale? And it's not like One Punch Man takes, you know, 6 months to drop a chapter or 3 months. Like, yeah, I think Murata sometimes takes a few weeks in between or whatnot, but for the most part, there's still somewhat of a consistency of, hey, you get One Punch Man here and there. It's not like a Yoshihiro Togashi. So the fact that he's able to create at this scale on a consistent basis, it makes me think a couple different things. For starters, it makes me think that Yusuke Murata, like I said, he enjoys what he's doing. Also, he's just really freaking talented. This man is able to draw at a level that most mangaka can't, and do it speedily and with high quality. So there's that. But also, I think he must have like an incredible staff working on this one, because it just almost feels inhumane that he's able to create at this quality. Like, the art is just otherworldly. If you appreciate high quality art in your story, One Punch Man delivers that. Now let's jump to some of the characters. King. I remember back when I used to talk about the anime, or not even the anime, I'm lying. Back when I talked about some of the manga stuff, I used to just be really excited about King because of the King engine. But man, move over Mr. Satan from Dragon Ball Z. Get out of the way. King is that dude. He is easily one of the best comedic reliefs, and I love how Murata plays it. He doesn't really come across as slimy as Mr. Satan. Like, you know how Mr. Satan, he would do really grimy shit just so that he looks like, I'm the world champ, I'm the greatest. King is just kind of like happy accident after happy accident, and he kind of is vague with the wording, sometimes double talking to the point where it's like he's not really lying, he's just kind of scared that they're gonna find out the truth that he's a fraud. But nevertheless, King in general, one of my favorite characters of the entire manga. Every time I see King, I get really excited, and it's not even on an epic way because you know he can't do much. He's not the guy that he's cracked up to be, but I just be there rooting like, oh shit, the King engine is here, even though I know he's not gonna be able to do shit, but King is here, let's go. And that right there is one of the best things about One Punch Man. One Punch Man, the comedy in it, you already know, be hilarious. And if you don't know, it'd be hilarious. But then when King is on the scene, it's like, I almost sometimes sit there and I'd be like, man, if only really King could do some shit. You know, if only King actually had some type of crazy powers and it wasn't all front, because he looks badass. To me, personally, sometimes I look at it as he's almost a cross between Mr. Satan and, I would argue, a parody of Shanks. Like, if you just look at him closely and you dye his hair red, he looks physically like Shanks. And I wonder if to a certain degree it's kind of a parody and at the same time just like an inside joke to One and Murata, in particular One, because he created the character of like, yo, you know how we never really seen Shanks do nothing throughout 1,000+ chapters. Like, he's been here and there, he stopped the war or whatever, but it was always just like the legend of Shanks. Oh my god, he's so epic, oh my god, he's badass, everybody's scared of him, but you don't really see him do anything. It's kind of like, well, what if it's because Shanks was a fraud? Like, that's what I feel King is, like a parody of the idea of the character that is shown to be the most badass in the world, but you never really see them do anything, and then you add an extra layer of, no, it's because he can't do anything. And shout outs to King. Garo's development. Garo. I have been a massive fan of Garo since way back with the One comic, and of course, you know, season 2. I have just been a big fan of Garo because he's something a little bit different and a little bit unique, right? He's a human that pretty much worships monsters to a certain degree, or worships the idea of being a monster. He doesn't really worship monsters because he basically be shitting on the Monster Association. In fact, while I was catching up, before I understood Garo's character, I thought he was more along the lines of somebody like Shigaraki from My Hero Academia. I thought he was just like, yo, I will kill each and every hero. And I think at first it kind of came across as that, but once you start peeling back the layers of his character, I would argue there's confusion in him. I would argue that it's more so like, yo dog, when I was younger, I was bullied. I mean, look at Tadero, I believe that's how you pronounce that kid's name. He was bullied. So I felt like they don't really get into the gray area of things, but Garo isn't necessarily a hero by any means. You know, he does some heroic deeds in terms of helping that kid, but he's not a hero, and it's hard to even argue that he's a villain or a monster. Granted, he did a lot of horrible things, but when you understand his resolve, when you understand his goals and ambitions of essentially creating a revolution, a world that due to his fear is improved and there's no more craziness, that's not really a monster either. He is in between. He is a revolutionary, a vigilante, whatever you want to call it, but he's definitely not a monster or a hero. And it's shown through and through as you continue on in the story that he's conflicted amongst all of the hilarious and insanity nature of One Punch Man, because, you know, you can have 1 minute Garo is fighting to the death and the next minute Saitama's farting or something like that. It's just insanity. But Garo's character development as we progress throughout the story, of even to the point where God comes down and he has, well, supposedly God, we don't know if that's God, but ultimately when God comes and he has that offer of the power and he feels like, wait a minute, you manipulating me, it just shows more and more that Garo, he's not necessarily all bad, he's not all good. And I wish One Punch Man as a whole would explore the idea of, you know, the gray area. Everything ain't black and white. Garo is literally the gray in a world that is pretty much promoting a black and white world. He understands both sides of the spectrum. He has a disdain to a certain degree for both sides of the spectrum. Like, even when it came to the Monster Association, he never once said, yo, I want to join so badly or anything like that. He pretty much gave them the finger, and then of course, you know, he was hunting down heroes and whipping ass. I felt like Garo came across more evil in the beginning when he was hunting down hero by hero, but as it progressed, especially after season 2, that's where, pretty much from where I picked up, you start to see the character's development from just being this ominous force to, no, there's more to him. If I had to say some of my favorite moments aside from all of the chaos of the war, because once we strap into the war of it and, you know, everybody is hunting down the Monster Association and whatnot, for me personally, and it might just be a me thing, I've gotten to the point where I really love some of the silly moments of One Punch Man that you would argue is almost like filler, I guess you would say, although it's not really, but just the calm moments where everybody is crowding in Saitama's house and he's like, yo, so when are y'all gonna leave and stuff like that. Those moments to me were priceless and I love them. I could watch a whole 12 episode anime of just like stupid shit like that, of them all crowding in Saitama's house and them bothering him, and realistically like, yo dog, I just want to eat some hot pot by myself, can y'all get out? Like y'all freeloading over me, what's going on here? Those moments to me are underused almost, and I get it because once it gets to the point where everybody's starting to hunt down, they're trying to rescue Tadeo and the other kid, the rich kid, like it gets to a point where you can't really have those moments. But just seeing like all of these S-class heroes in Saitama's apartment, considering the fact that I want to say he's a B-class at this particular point, he's pretty much almost a nobody, but you got everybody from Blizzard to Bang and his brother, Genos, King, like all of these people just having a good old time in Saitama's house, and I love those moments and I appreciate them. And after this arc is all said and done, the battle against Garo, I want to get back to some of that. I really love that. Bang's past. Getting Bang's past to me was something very special because I had no idea that, holy cow, he was pretty much like Garo. He's just Garo that went in the right direction. Like even seeing his relationship with his brother, how his brother was the honest, upstanding guy, and Bang was just kind of like the ghetto loser little brother that he thought he had it all because he had might and power. Shout outs to Better Call Saul. Now that I think about it, that relationship reminds me of Chuck and Jimmy. But either way, I really appreciated that because it also gives a different dynamic, and it also gives an alternative route to where Garo's character could have gone. Had he not become the hero hunter and caused all this chaos and pretty much, you know, just body hero after hero, he probably could have gone the direction of Bang. So Bang is Garo gone right. I don't think Garo's gonna have a second chance after all is said and done. Don't quote me on that, but getting that just in general, some exposition and some backstory to this character that's been around for a while, I liked it and I appreciated it. And I don't remember if that was in the one comic or not, but it gave more into this character that is already, you know, he's the old OG. You have those older characters in anime and manga, the Roshis, the Jiraiya's and whatnot. He's that. And when you dive into their past, boy, it'd be exciting. And it's just interesting to note again that he was Garo at one given point. He just changed his ways, and it was because of him trying to be like his older brother. Anything Saitama related in this, I'm always for it. I don't think that there's a single moment in the entirety of One Punch Man, but let alone in my recent catch up from the end of season 2 till now, that was a bad moment. From again the comedic aspects to him just diddling around in the tunnels of the underground or whatnot, everything is just either funny or epic, or I love the fact that most people, they underestimate what he's capable of, like all the stuff with him and Flashy Flash, which we'll talk about Flashy Flash in a second. I'm not the biggest Flashy Flash fan, but again, we'll get to it. Saitama's just, I feel like he's almost underused in his own story because we will go chapters upon chapters, especially during the entire monster arc. We went dozens of chapters with no Saitama or very few inklings of him here and there, but Saitama is almost underused in his own story, and I guess it's a gift and a curse, right? Because then when he finally shows up and it's finally getting serious and he starts throwing hands with Garo and all of that stuff, it's like, oh, we've been building up to this. Obviously, it's the whole shtick of, you know, the hero coming at the last second, Goku arriving at the last second, running late even to, you know, the battle against the Saiyans or the battle against Frieza, stuff like that. That's pretty much what you do when you have a broken character like Saitama, because let's be clear here, we only need Saitama to protect the world if we really want to be clear about it. Like, Saitama is capable of protecting the world damn near by himself, and that's why they remove him from the plot, because if you have him in there, there's no story. He's literally the One Punch Man. Granted, it gets a little more epic as it goes on, like the battle against Garo. It takes a lot more, a hell of a lot more than just one punch, and it's still going as of the recording of this video. But yeah, Saitama is just amazing and an awesome character in a series where he's pretty much the only one that's really needed. You don't need Tornado, you don't need Genos. Saitama's fist is all you need. Tornado's powers, like, you always get, you know, oh, Tatsumaki is on some greatness, you know what I'm saying? She's one of the top, like, you can't mess with her. I believe she's #1 hero, right? Like, you always hear about her, but when we finally get to see Tornado throwing down, especially the big battle where you actually have to see her struggling against the main boss of the monsters, like, that's where I'm like, oh wow. And you can tell Murata loves drawing her, because damn near every time you see Tornado, she's drawn very freaking well. But just Tornado as a hero and actually seeing her powers and whatnot, shout outs to Tornado. I love Genos's conviction. Genos, despite everything that happens to him, he is always like now I'm gonna get it. And even though One and Murata, but of course it's from One's original work, pretty much always shits on Genos. It's always like, yo, Genos is gonna try, but even against like Garo, when he's charging at him and whatnot, he's just like barely a torso left. It's always Genos is the sacrificial lamb for everything. Like, I'm at the point where I completely turn off my brain to the idea of, no, Genos is gonna save the day, because Genos is just pretty much their punching bag. They always throw Genos in, like, you already know Genos is gonna lose half his body, his face. It's gonna be bad, to the point where he pretty much died for the most part. Like, there was just left his core. That Saitama, my god, dog, he was fighting on freaking one of Jupiter's moons, holding Genos' freaking core there. Like, either way, I wish more for him. And this is more so like, again, the love of, like, I really appreciate that he tries so freaking hard, where he has Dr. Kusuno constantly giving him upgrades and whatnot, and he's continuing on trying to be by Saitama's side, and his dedication. I swear to God, if you have a friend or somebody that looks at you the way Genos looks at Saitama, keep them for the rest of your life. This dude does not care no matter what. Like, I remember Blizzard was telling him, like, yo, you know that he doesn't have to pay anything. Like, he doesn't own this apartment. He's taking advantage of you. And Genos brushes it off. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. My master is greatness. Like, just knock it off. Like, get you a Genos. Zombie Man was pretty interesting. I think that he actually surprised me. I thought he was just going to be another run-of-the-mill hero. Like, yeah, he's S-class or whatever. Is he S? I want to say he's S-class. Like, he's S-class, but I didn't expect much from him. And his fight against, is it Homeless God? The monster with the long hair, whatnot. Well, he wasn't even really a monster, it felt like. But his battle against him was actually pretty freaking epic. I was surprised at that one as well, because I wasn't expecting, like, it's Zombie Man. You know, One Punch Man, it really dives into how ridiculous things can get. Like, imagine, in One Punch Man's world, it could be that I eventually turned into a monster or a hero by simply, I talked on this microphone too much, and eventually I turned into the microphone. Like, that's literally the ridiculousness of One Punch Man. And it works, don't get me wrong, but when you see something like Zombie Man, that he just keeps on coming back, and again, the art, oh my god, when he gets blasted to damn near smithereens, Murata makes sure to even show those smithereens in high quality. And even though we kind of briefly mentioned her Blizzard and the Blizzard Bunch, her relationship with Tatsumaki, Tornado, I just appreciate her. I ain't gonna lie, it doesn't hurt that the fan service with Blizzard be just a wee bit on the tip, mate, a wee bit peak. You know, we got peak fan service with Blizzard, we've got peak, but Blizzard, there's not the greatest amount of things for her. But I love, again, everybody that's pretty much in Saitama's fray, all the people that rock with Saitama, despite that she's delusional and think that they're all a part of her Blizzard bunch. Like, yo, when she was starting to say, like, yo, Bang and his brother are a part of her Blizzard bunch, and Saitama and all them, I'm like, oh, shorty got mad. Yo, don't worry though, I'll be a part of the Blizzard bunch. It'll just be me and you, shorty. The Blizzard duo. Hey. Blast. Holy cow. The fact that we're in like an endgame fight right now. Not endgame, because there's a lot more to One Punch Man according to Murata, whatever. But Blast shocked the crap out of me. I did not expect Blast to kind of, first of all, show up the way he did, but also he's still a big mystery, right? Because he said he didn't fight alone, and we seen that silhouette when he jumped from dimensions of, like, there was multiple people in there. So is Blast like a hero? I'm gonna throw the argument that maybe Blast is from another dimension. Think like Dragon Ball Super Universe 6 and 7. What if Blast is basically Universe 6 version of Saitama? Because at one given point he even says that, yo, I have a day job, I'm a hero for fun, something along the lines of that, similar to Saitama, how he used to say, I'm a hero for fun. So I'm wondering if Blast is just from another dimension, because remember, he dimension hops. What if he's from a parallel universe, essentially, where everything is like mirrored in a different reflection? Like, so he would be a serious version of Saitama, like, you know, the epic, the iconic version, the classic hero, where Saitama is a new age, you know, he's damn near a gag, a walking gag, and his powers, and just in general, when he showed up and seen that he's kind of been a part of the story all along, even though, you know, we've only heard whispers of him, you know, and it was pretty much like he didn't exist. So when they actually bring him into the fold, and we find out that he rescued a My Mask at one point, he rescued Tornado, like, he's been around. So Blast, there's just so much more to come, but already what I'm seeing, very promising. His powers is interesting. I'm wondering though, like, is he just like a whole collective? Is Blast like a bunch of different people, or is he again a part of like a different dimension version of the Hero Association? Either way, Blast, wow. And we barely got him. I ain't gonna lie, we've seen him here and there, whatnot, but he hasn't really gone full throttle, and I can't wait to the point where we see him either throw hands with Saitama or just see him at his limit. I could see even at some given point potentially Murata killing off Blast. I don't know, maybe I'm just thinking way far in the distance, but yeah, Blast is so freaking epic that if he fell, what would that do to everybody? God's appearance. God in this manga. Wow, wow, wow. The fact that essentially God is connected to Pandora's box, so to speak. You get your hands on Pandora's box, and we've seen what had happened with again, homeless emperor. I think it was homeless emperor. We've seen it with him. We've seen it with Garo, even though Garo, my guy Garo, he was pretty, shout outs to Garo. The fact that he is such a freaking, I don't even want to say demon because, again, he's in between. But he's just so strong in his resolve that he even slapped God's hand away. And it was just that, it was a trick to it. Oh, you touched me? There you go. I'm taking over. I'm jumping through. But God, we've only seen inklings so far of what this dude is capable of. But clearly he's something that is to be feared because, yeah, he's connected to Pandora's box. You touch the box and it's almost philosophical, metaphorical of you ask certain questions, you go into certain instances, and it opens up a whole new path to you. Although, again, I would argue that, quote-unquote, God in this series, he seems evil. Honestly, in my opinion, God is evil. Saitama versus Garo on Jupiter's moon. Fam, dog, hands down, whenever they decide to, because in my opinion, what they're probably waiting on is to wrap up the entire Monster Association arc, all of it, and then probably we're going to get another One Punch Man manga of like 25 to 50 episodes animating all of it in its entirety. That kind of makes the most sense in my opinion. Hopefully we get the right studio, because when they animate that, if they do it properly, if they get Old Madhouse, if they bring it to Mappa, whatever it is, this is going to be just breathtaking. Between Garo's design of, when the God power is on him, fighting against Saitama, and just how freaking broken Saitama has become. Because let's be clear here, it seems to me that One and Yusuke Murata have made and are potentially making great strides to replace Son Goku from Dragon Ball Z as the strongest character in anime and manga. And by no means am I saying that Goku is the strongest, because there's clearly people in other manga that, they could just think and you'll disappear and shit like that. But in terms of, the whole idea, especially in the West, that, but can he beat Goku, the meme? That's because most people think Goku is like the strongest character in all of fiction. And I feel like with the battle between Saitama and Garo, this has made great strides to show that, oh no, Goku can't even clean Saitama's boots right now, because dog, sneezing and blowing up plant, like, dog, this is next world. Honestly, I could see if they get it right with this next season of One Punch Man, whenever they decide to do it, this could clearly put Saitama on the map of being the new face of strong or strength, or just in general replacing Goku. Everybody always thinks Goku is the strongest. Saitama is doing feats that Superman did. Saitama is pretty much on even par to becoming the guy from anime and manga that could give Superman a run for his money. Most people say like, yo, Superman's just too broken. He could fart and blow everything out of existence. Saitama is heading that way, because sneezes and farts from Saitama are doing insane feats to the point where he freaking goes back in time. Saitama is, I don't even want to say broken, because we've known from day one, hello, he's One Punch Man. They remove him from the plot so that the other heroes have an opportunity to shine, because he's too damn strong. But I'm calling it. Saitama, if they market this right, will replace Goku as, like, we'll see the next big death battle will be Saitama versus Superman. And I think that there's a possibility that Saitama, if it continues in this trajectory, can actually beat Superman. And I know probably people are like, you don't understand in the comics. Well, so far, some of the feats that Saitama has done in this battle, and a lot of it is accidental, is feats that Superman were capable of. And those are the credentials that people use to say that this is why Superman beats this one and that one. Imagine as Saitama's progressing, because they've even shown that in this chart, in his fight against Garo, he's getting stronger and stronger. What happens when he fights somebody that actually truly gives him a run for his money? Because being honest with you, it's just that Garo has like this resolve to keep getting back up, but he's still no match for Saitama. He mentions it multiple times, like, I can't rock with you, boy, the dude is too strong. So what happens when we actually get to a point of Saitama finding somebody that is going to continue to increase his strength and his powers? And Superman, watch your back, dog. The Cape Baldy is coming for you, fam. Now, some stuff that I was in between about, that I was like, it's alright, it's okay. For starters, the leader of, the true leader anyway, of the Monster Association, her name escapes me at the moment, but I wasn't really all that fond of her character, but it was cool to see her battle with Tornado. I think that was one of the best battles panels of the entirety of this arc so far. So I'm kind of like in between. It's like boring character, felt like a mustache twirler, and eventually turned into like a giant goddess looking creature or whatever. But the strength was cool, and the battle against Tornado kind of gives a little bit of like, I'm in between on her. I wish there was more to her, and I wish it wasn't like this big build up of Gyoro and Orochi and Pochi, and then it's like, no, they're all just pawns to this giant psychic. And also just a quick nod to Ugly President. Just all of the absurd ideas that they come up with for this manga of like this dude that his powers is basically that he's such a freaking creature and a monster of ugliness. Is like, I love the absurdity of it. And now let's hop over to Disappointment Alley. For starters, characters that I just mentioned, I'm very disappointed at what happened with Gyoro and Orochi and Pochi. That pretty much, even though especially Gyoro, he was built up as like he's going to be the strongest thing, you know, he's the leader, he's pulling all the strings and whatnot, and then the fact that he kind of was defeated and there was a bigger boss, and I didn't like that, especially with Orochi, because I thought when a lot of people were hyping up that One Punch Man is hype right now, I thought it was like that Garo and Saitama were fighting Orochi and it's just this big battle. I didn't realize that it was going to eventually be that they didn't matter. Pochi, he had a lot of screen time, so maybe I shouldn't be too harsh on the Pochi situation, because at the end of the day it was just a wild beast of a dog. But Gyoro and Orochi, too much side hero stuff. I'ma just keep it real. Like, there's a bunch that I love, and I'm not just talking about the Blizzard bunch. Like, you know, I love me the Saitamas, I love Bang, I love, you know, all of the core, everyone that pretty much be in Saitama's apartment are the characters that I love seeing. But when it got to a point, and later on the character became a little more prevalent, but for example, there was a chapter where it was like 150 pages of side heroes and Flashy Flash. That again, once Flashy Flash paired up with Saitama, they became more interesting. But I ain't gonna lie, there was way too much side hero stuff, small villain things, to the point where it almost felt like, god damn, some of this feels like filler in a way. Like, if this was a Studio Pierrot or Toei anime, then they would have a field day with all this stuff, because they could extend the filler into more filler. But it definitely felt like, up until we got to like the surface and up until like the tornado battle, I think that's where probably things turned around immensely and we really got rid of most of that stuff. I ain't gonna lie, I was not a big fan of a lot of that stuff. I was just like, it looks gorgeous, the art is amazing, and sure, there's some build up for some of these characters, but geez, there was a lot of it, and it was certain points where I was like, yeah, I'll read a little more later, this is kind of getting boring. Like, just keeping it real, it would look gorgeous, but where is King at? Give me a King joke right now. Tell me Saitama's doing something. And also the fact that the monster arc has been crazy long. I don't remember how long the Boro arc was or whatever, but Boro really wasn't like a big integral thing. But this has been going on with Garo and the monsters for what felt like ages, because remember, even if it's only like 80 or 90 chapters, some of these chapters are like 45, 50, 100, 150 pages long, like astronomically, ridiculously long chapters. And it's like, so realistically, there's probably 120 to 150 chapters worth in pages for One Punch Man's monster arc. So it definitely feels very long. It reminds me of, like, I want to say it was Katekyo Hitman Reborn's future arc, that like over half the series was just that arc alone. That's what that's felt like with this one, with all of these really, really long chapters. Another big disappointment that I was like, what the hell, was Black Luster's character. My god, because it would go back and forth of like, yo, he's really, really buff and strong, and he's, you know, standing on his shit. He got wrecked by Garo, and then his resolve went away, and then he would get back up, and then when he got wrecked again, I believe it was that time by like Ugly President, was like melting his muscles and shit. He kept on reverting back to being, excuse my French, bitch made. Like, dog, when I'm seeing him there curled up in a ball, this big muscly motherfucker, I'm like, what are you doing? Get the fuck up. Legit would piss me off. I really was disappointed with his character, because you got a motherfucker like Pooty Prisoner that he ain't playing no games. He's swimming through the gravel and shit, and you got Black Luster in the corner there curled up. Dog, you better get up. You better knock it off already. Like, how is Pooty Prisoner outdoing you? Stop it. But honestly, overall, this has been one hell of a ride. For my first giant manga catch up in what feels like forever, I don't know, it's probably been years since I binged a manga at this scale. It was just filled with laughs. I think One Punch Man, one of its strongest bits is the comedy, and I'm not a big fan of comedy in anime manga. A lot of times it'll be misses, but not One Punch Man, because they do the most absurd comedy. Sometimes it's a little lewd, ridiculous, but nevertheless, it would always make me laugh. I would actually be there with damn near tears in my eyes of, oh my god, this shit is freaking funny. And then the action, again, I can't stress enough that pretty much from the tornado fight on, the action picks up immensely. We got these two giant freaking sidekicks fighting, then Then on top of that, it goes from that to Saitama versus Garo, sneezing, blowing up planets, reversing time back, Genos getting freaking massacred. Like, there was just so much greatness to this manga catch-up, and I don't understand why people were saying, oh, One Punch Man diverged too far from the one manga, is not good anymore. Like, what manga are you reading, lad? Because the only major complaint I would say that is probably a deviation from the old one comic is the amount of like side hero stuff. If you remove a lot of the side hero stuff, this shit is like damn near masterpiece level. And in terms of art, check on that damn near masterpiece level. Combat, check on that damn near masterpiece level. Comedy, masterpiece level. Not damn near. The comedy is freaking incredible. Like, it was really just the side hero stuff and the length of the side hero stuff that kind of deviated me a bit from just completely going crazy. But I still gotta stand on One Punch Man is one of the most epic to be doing it. If you like battle shonen with comedy in it, this right here is probably one of the best doing it. It's the strongest with its comedy, and its action is not far off from that either. And it really delivers, because a lot of people, they complain on like, you know, oh, my favorite shonen is doing boring stuff, they're just talking. There is rarely talking, and if there is talking in One Punch Man, it's usually adding on to the plot so that the fights are that much more grandiose. But extremely curious what you guys think. For starters, do you want to see me talk about One Punch Man manga some more? I know the manga comes out irregularly, but I have a lot more time now that we removed Fornever News from here to its own channel to talk about this, that, and the third. Let me know. Drop me a like if you want to see me talk about One Punch Man manga some more moving forward. What is your favorite moments? Did I miss out on speaking on anything in particular? There's just so much that I know I probably missed out, but yeah, your overall thoughts and expectations on where this is all going, and what would you rate One Punch Man at this particular point in this arc thus far? Would you say it's like a 7 out of 10, 8 out of 10? Honestly, I would say it is a very strong 8.5 out of 10, and when it gets to the Saitama and Garo stuff, it is 9 or better, clearly. That's all I have for this one. I'm ForneverWorld, and as always, people, have an awesome day, and remember the golden rule: anime and manga for life, boy! Have an awesome day, peace in, and dog, all it took was one glorious punch. Well, it was a lot of glorious punches, actually. Like, yo, go read One Punch Man, dog. What are you doing here? Have an awesome one.
So just go to